I returned to the country ahead of schedule without telling my husband, Herbert Foster, because I wanted to give him a surprise. Following the location, I rushed to the pub's box. However, through the glass window, I saw him passionately kissing another woman in his arms. All his friends were cheering, and one of them said, "You said you'd be a dink for your wife, but you still got Stella pregnant. Your wife is so high and mighty and boring. She won't even give you a kid." Herbert frowned and scolded, "Shut up. Don't make jokes about my wife. When Stella's baby is born, I'll find an excuse to let my wife adopt him." After lighting a cigarette, he added, "My wife is delicate and can't have children. If anyone lets my wife find out about these things, I won't let them off the hook." Everyone swore they would keep it from me, and I stood outside the door as tears streamed down my face. The man who once doted on me and said he couldn't bear to see me suffer from pregnancy and was willing to be a dink for me had already had a child with someone else behind my back. Such being the case, I would never let him find me for the rest of his life. I came home in a daze. I knew that woman. She was Stella Edwards, the new secretary Herbert Foster had hired. Everything I saw outside the box seemed to be etched in my mind and lingered there for a long time. Those hurtful words kept echoing in my head and reminded me that Herbert, the man who I thought loved me with all his heart and soul, had truly betrayed me. I took out my phone and initiated a video call to Herbert, but he hung up on me in a flash. Almost immediately, several messages popped up on my screen. "What's up, babe? I'm in the middle of a meeting. Sorry, I can't answer your call right now. Babe, are you missing me? I miss you, too. Honey, I'll wrap up this meeting soon, and we can have a video chat then. Love you." If I hadn't seen him locking lips with another woman with my own eyes, I might have fallen for his sweet-talking lies. I sent him a voice message, telling him that I had come home early. Herbert quickly replied, "Why'd you come home early? Honey, I'll be home right away." I didn't bother replying to him. Instead, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the night view of Revert. Yesterday, while I was at a fashion show overseas, my assistant, Tiffany Reed, told me that Herbert had specifically told her to buy every single piece of clothing that caught my eye. Tiffany had laid it on thick, trying to speak up for Herbert. "Ms. Brown, Mr. Foster loves you so much. He wants to bring all the good things in the world to you." She was right, in a way. Herbert had loved me. He loved me so much that even though I saw him kiss another woman with my own eyes, I still doubted if I had seen it wrong. My mom died of amniotic fluid embolism when she gave birth to me. My dad raised me until I was 18 and then committed suicide by cutting his wrists to join my mom in death. He left me with hundreds of millions of dollars in inheritance, which made me a prime target for all sorts of people with malicious intentions. Then, Herbert entered my life. He was my knight in shining armor, protecting me from all the dangers and harm, creating a safe bubble around me. He refused to get even a single cent of my money. Instead, he transferred all of his properties under my name. Everyone said that his love for me bordered on obsession. He was such a proud and dignified man, yet he'd race back just to catch a glimpse of me even when he was swamped with work and only had half an hour of break time. I had a deep-seated psychological trauma because of my mom's death, and I was terrified of having children. Herbert would hold me close in his arms and plant gentle kisses on me, saying, "It's probably for the best if we don't have a baby. I'm scared that once he's here, he'll steal all your love away from me, and I'll be envious. Honey, having you is more than enough for me in this lifetime. You're the only one I love." Herbert's love had almost suffocated me in a way. Even though I was angry at my dad for leaving me behind, I envied the unwavering love my parents had for each other, a love that was strong enough to make one follow the other into the unknown. I once thought that, just like my mom, I had married for true love and was the luckiest woman on the planet. But in the end, it all turned out to be a beautiful dream that shattered into a million pieces. Time seemed to stand still until the sound of the door opening broke the silence. Herbert stood at the door with a beaming face. After he warmed up a bit, he rushed over and hugged me tightly. He said, "Honey, why did you come back early? Wasn't your flight supposed to be tomorrow? Why didn't you tell me? I could have come to pick you up." I stared blankly at the lipstick mark on Herbert's neck and reached out to wipe it off for him. "Herbert, I don't like the smell on you." There was a scent of women's perfume on him that didn't belong to him. The glaring lipstick mark and the cloying perfume were like a silent challenge from that woman to me. Herbert's expression froze for a moment, but then, he quickly regained his composure. He took a step back, took off his overcoat, and threw it on the floor. Looking at me with a remorseful face, he said, "Sorry, honey, there was a client at the meeting tonight whose perfume was way too strong. It's my fault. I was in such a hurry to come back and see you that I didn't have time to deal with it." Herbert was so smart. He mixed truth and falsehood in his words. It was true that he was eager to come back to see me, but the story about the client's perfume was a lie. A cold smile played on my face. My fingers wrapped around his tie, and I gave it a hard tug. With our faces just inches apart, I said slowly, "Herbert, you're not fooling around with someone else behind my back, are you?" Herbert's pupils trembled slightly, and a look of panic flashed across his face. But years of experience in the business world had already honed his ability to stay calm in any situation. He quickly composed himself and looked at me with a pitiful expression, and there were even tears glistening in his eyes. "Honey, you're the only one in my heart. Did I do something wrong to make you ask me such a question?" Seeing how nervous he was, I couldn't help but laugh out loud, saying, "Just kidding. Why are you so serious? Look, you're even sweating. Go and take a shower." I reached out and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Herbert's stiff body quickly relaxed. He kissed my lips and said in a soft, reproachful voice, "Don't say such things again. You almost scared me to death." He kissed me for a while before going to take a shower. The moment he turned around, my smile disappeared, replaced by overwhelming feelings of resentment and disgust. Tears streamed down my face, and I wiped my lips vigorously. The moment I saw the panic in his eyes, I felt that the man I had loved for nearly 10 years was so unfamiliar and repulsive. When Herbert came out of the shower, he wrapped his arms around my waist, attempting to be affectionate. I suddenly moved away and curled up in the corner. "I'm tired." Herbert felt so sorry for me. He carefully adjusted the quilt for me and patted my back as if he were coaxing a child. He said, "You've had a long day, babe. Get some rest. I'll spend more time with you tomorrow." Gradually, I heard his even breathing. I stared at Herbert's face in the dark, and my tears wet the pillow. pillow. Even when he was sleeping, he would unconsciously mumble my name. I couldn't figure it out. How could he not love me anymore? The next day, Herbert really stayed by my side all the time. The formidable president of a corporation was willing to act like a nanny for me. Even when it came to eating grapes, he would peel them and feed them to my mouth. That night, he booked the most luxurious high-altitude restaurant in the whole city for a date with me. The view outside the window was dazzlingly beautiful. Herbert took out the necklace he had designed himself and put it around my neck. This necklace was called Love Samantha, and it was inlaid with a valuable ruby. Herbert looked at me with eyes full of love. Honey, you look so beautiful wearing this necklace. He leaned over and was about to kiss me when the phone on the table rang. I glanced at it, and it was a phone call from his secretary, Stella. Herbert answered the phone with a look of impatience. I told you I'm spending time with my wife today. I'm not available. Can't whatever work-related matter wait until tomorrow? I didn't know what the person on the other end said, but Herbert's tone softened, and a look of panic flashed across his face. Wait for me. I'll be there right away. After hanging up, Herbert looked at me guiltily. Sorry, honey, I need to deal with an urgent matter. I promise I'll be back soon. He tried to kiss me, but I dodged him subtly. Don't keep her waiting. Herbert left in a hurry, and I looked at those dishes on the table that I used to love the most. At this moment, they tasted like sawdust to me, and I could hardly swallow them. I turned my head, and my tired and disappointed face was reflected in the glass window. The dazzling necklace around my neck made me look like a clown. I got up to go home, but the wedding ring on my hand suddenly fell off. In the dark, I couldn't see it and could only squat down to look for it. The ring got stuck in the crack and was pushed further and further away. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Maybe it was the fated arrangement. Herbert and I were like this wedding ring, getting further and further apart. On the way home, my phone received a photo of Herbert. Herbert was looking at the pregnancy test report in his hand with a gentle smile. A dull pain hit my heart. The person then sent me several videos of her being intimate with Herbert, which were filmed in the car, his office, or a hotel room. There were countless pieces of lingerie and sex toys, and condoms were all over the floor. That person kept sending me messages. Just because I said my stomach hurt, he left you and came to me. Samantha, can't you see which woman is really in Herbert's heart? He said that I'm young and fun and that you're haughty and uptight. You're so stiff in bed that he's already grown tired of you. The one who isn't loved is the outsider. You'd better leave on your own. Don't make me kick you out with my baby. Every gasp in the videos wildly stimulated my nerves. My hands were shaking so violently that I could barely hold my phone. A wave of overwhelming pain washed over me, and tears streamed down my face. In the end, I covered my face with both hands and broke down into sobs. When Herbert came back, it was almost midnight. At that time, I was lying on the sofa, pretending to be asleep. Herbert thought I had fallen asleep while waiting for him. He felt extremely guilty, picked me up in his arms, and put me on the bed. He held my cold feet against his chest to warm them up. I opened my eyes, facing away from him. In the stillness of the night, I asked him, Herbert, do you love me? The person behind me froze. Then, he hugged me tightly, and scalding tears fell on my shoulder. I couldn't tell if it was out of guilt or some other emotion. At that moment, Herbert was indeed crying. He said, I'm so sorry I came back so late and made you wait for so long. Honey, please don't ever doubt my love for you. You mean the world to me, more than my own life. I turned around and met Herbert's intense gaze, his bright eyes filled with my reflection. It brought back memories of the time when I was alone and vulnerable, and he had stepped in to protect me from the harsh realities of the world, and the way he had looked at me with those clear eyes back then. I had never doubted true feelings, but true feelings could change in an instant. I smiled and touched his face. I love you, Herbert. I would always love Herbert, whom I met when I was 18, but I wouldn't stay with him anymore. Herbert held me tightly in his arms as if holding something fragile. He whispered, honey, shall we adopt a child in a couple of years? I knew he was talking about the child he had with Stella. I didn't hesitate. Okay. Anyway, I was going to leave, and he could adopt whoever's child he wanted. When I woke up, Herbert had already gone to work. On the bedside table, there was breakfast he'd personally prepared, along with a freshly plucked rose. My phone was flooded with affectionate messages from Herbert. Amidst them were some lurid videos sent by Stella. Just as Herbert sent me a video updating me on his whereabouts, Stella was using her hand to pleasure him. A wave of nausea surged within me. I raised my hand and swept the breakfast off the bedside table. After yanking the necklace from around my neck and tossing it into the trash can, I booked a flight ticket abroad. In the afternoon, Herbert returned and personally assisted me in putting on a dress. You must accompany me to the company dinner tonight, babe. I want everyone to envy me for having such a gorgeous wife, he said. I didn't decline and let him lead me to the car. I had met Stella before, yet I was still taken aback by her transformation tonight. Money truly could work wonders for a person. She no longer had that timid air she'd had when I first met her. Instead, she'd become an elegant and radiant woman. There was a faint resemblance between her features and mine. As an assistant, she was clad in an expensive, custom-made dress and decked out in jewelry from head to toe. She truly seemed to be the one Herbert cared for most. Herbert remained by my side throughout, holding my hand, but he kept stealing glances in Stella's direction until a CEO asked Stella to have a drink with him. Stella couldn't refuse and was about to raise the glass to her lips. Herbert swiftly let go of my hand, snatched the glass from Stella, and drank the wine in one gulp. He did it so forcefully that I nearly lost my balance and fell to the ground. Suddenly, all the surrounding eyes turned towards me. There were looks of mockery, confusion, and pity. Herbert then realized and rushed towards me. He nervously took my hand and explained, Stella is pregnant and can't drink. As her boss, I couldn't just stand by and watch her risk her health for the sake of business, right? I suppressed the urge to slap him and stared at Stella with a smile. Ms. Edwards is truly capable. She's still socializing even though she's pregnant. I'm curious what the father of the child is up to. Stella stood beside Herbert and showed me the ruby bracelet on her wrist. The father of my child is busy making money. My husband designed this ruby bracelet himself. It's called Love Stella. My heart constricted painfully, and the sudden, intense ache made my face turn pale. So, Herbert had designed a necklace and a bracelet, giving one to me and the other to Stella. Noticing my appearance, Herbert pushed Stella aside and nervously grasped my my arm, looking concerned as he said, "Honey, why do you look so pale? Are you feeling ill?" I shook my head, steadied myself against the table, and pushed his hand away. "I'm a bit tired. I'm going back first." Herbert wanted to accompany me back. I smiled and pushed him toward Stella. "It's okay. Take good care of the pregnant lady. Make sure she doesn't drink again." With that, I turned around and left. When Herbert saw me leave like this, a strong sense of unease and anxiety flashed through his heart. He was about to chase after me, but Stella tightly latched onto his arm. "Herbert, I bought the clothes you like the most." Herbert hesitated for a moment, then turned back and pinched Stella's cheek. "You are such a coquettish girl."